This presentation will cover how we in Southern Water are managing our greenhouse gas emissions from our operational services to customers. It also looks at how we may consider offsetting in the future. My name is Emma Bennett and I am Southern Water Carbon Manager. This slide illustrates our business. We cover 10,000 square kilometres in the southeast, and on an average day we supply almost 560 million litres of drinking water and treat 740 million litres of wastewater. We have been proactive in reducing our emissions and preparing to adapt to climate change. We have a long history of planning our services in a changing environment for droughts, and we have invested in renewable energy to mitigate our climate impact. We have been recording our carbon footprint since 2008, and we do have a good understanding of where our emissions are coming from. However, we are in a climate emergency and we recognise that we need to do more. I mentioned we've been recording our carbon footprint. I just wanted to cover how we do this. We translate our activities into carbon impact by the use of emission factors. These represent the level of greenhouse gases emitted for an activity. So, for example, we could record the amount of power that we have used and multiply it by the relevant emission factor. For 2018, the emission factor for electricity was 0.23 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent emitted per kilowatt hour used. We express all our greenhouse gases in terms of their carbon dioxide impact. So, for example, methane is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Therefore, we would multiply our methane emissions by 25 in order to bring it to the carbon dioxide level. This graph illustrates our carbon emissions since 2010. Last year, we emitted 200 kilotons of carbon dioxide equivalent. This has reduced from 287 kilotons in 2010. The major component is electricity use. This is in yellow. This is decreasing year on year as more renewables are brought into the UK grid mix. The second largest area is emissions from our treatment processes. These are actually increasing as population grows. This slide provides more detail on last year's emissions. In the table, you will see that 59% of our emissions are due to electricity, and 33% of our emissions are estimated to be derived from our treatment processes. Transport and the generation of power on site from fuel oil are relatively small. The pie chart on the right illustrates the sources of emissions. Almost 50% are derived from sewage treatment and 25% from drinking water. In this climate emergency, we have pledged to reach net zero collectively as a water sector. We are currently developing a sector route map on how we can achieve net zero, and then individual companies will develop their individual pathways later on this year. Net zero means that the residual emissions that we release will be balanced by the removals from the atmosphere, such as sequestration. This is where offsetting becomes significant. In this slide, I have modelled a theoretical pathway to net zero based on our emissions. This modelling has included changes in energy procurement, changes in fuel use, and technological advances in transport. However, even when we've undertaken all of these, this does not reduce our emissions to zero. We forecast the need to offset residual emissions. The development of the water sector route map has delivered a hierarchy on how we will approach reaching net zero. Direct reductions of emissions are our primary focus, with offsetting being the last option available. Direct reduction can be achieved by many methods. We could increase catchment management to reduce pollutants, reaching our treatment requirements. We could use natural treatment options such as reed beds, manage demand for potable water, increase renewable energy use, and improve efficiency of our treatment processes and recover waste heat. We would not expect to offset until the end of the decade. Offset projects could include activities that avoid emissions or sequester carbon. Avoiding emissions would be actions such as investing in renewables. Sequestration could include planting from trees and other forms of biosequestration, land use change, etc. Credible offsets have specific requirements. They need to be an additional activity to what would have happened anyway. Their future needs to be assured, they need to be verified, and they need to be maintained. We note that there are some certified carbon reduction schemes that do not allow for offsetting, such as the Science Based Target Initiative. This is because companies are required to set targets based on direct action. A concept gaining momentum is insetting. This is similar to offsetting, but occurs within a company's boundary or sphere of influence, such as their supply chain. This concept requires further development. However, there could be significant benefits here, which are derived in our local area. There may also be the potential to obtain the carbon credits early due to the direct control of the insetting. There are questions that we would need to answer, such as how would we ensure the inset stands up to scrutiny and verification? And if we undertook insetting with our partners, who would own the reduction? Whether insetting or offsetting, we would wish to see additional modes other than tree planting or managing peatland. It would be advantageous to be able to offset within our local environment to support our communities and local habitats. In our region, we have a long coastline, and therefore carbon sequestered in our seas or estuaries, which is known as blue carbon, could have potential along with the more traditional tree planting approaches. In summary, we are committed to addressing the climate emergency through our contribution to the net zero target by 2030. We will need to consider the role of offsetting in our route map plans and envisage the need for innovative approaches to offsetting, such as blue carbon. Thank you for watching.